When the economy slams the door, Black women build windows. I recently sat down with Jerelyn Buchanan, a visionary leader whose work is nothing short of revolutionary. Jerelyn is reshaping the economic landscape for Black women in America, not with theory, not with sympathy, but with infrastructure. They are building pathways where systems have erected walls. They are creating ecosystems where Black women don't just survive, they thrive, they lead, they build. And what Jerelyn shared with me challenged everything I thought I understood about crisis, opportunity, and who gets to shape the future. So let me start with a question that might make you uncomfortable. When you hear that Black women's unemployment hit 7.5% in September 2025, with 265,000 fewer Black women employed compared to just 9 months earlier, what runs through your mind? Tragedy, right? Crisis. Another devastating statistic proving that the system is broken. And you would be absolutely correct. It is a crisis, it is a tragedy, it is proof that systemic exclusion is alive and thriving. But here's what Jerelyn helped me see. And here's what the data screams when you stop looking at Black women as victims and start seeing them as architects. At the exact same moment that Black women are being pushed out of traditional employment at catastrophic rates, they are also launching businesses faster than any other demographic in America. 17% of Black women are actively starting new ventures, compared to 10% of white women. 17%. Let that number settle into your bones for a moment. The same population being systematically excluded from corporate America, the same women watching their paychecks shrink to 71 cents on the dollar, the same community facing eviction rates that have surged 34%. They are not waiting for the system to fix itself. They are building their own tables. They are creating their own economies. They are refusing to be defined by what was taken from them. This is not a feel good story. This is a revolution hiding in plain sight. And if you are not paying attention, you are missing the most important economic shift of our generation. Now, I need to be brutally honest about the numbers because we cannot celebrate entrepreneurship without acknowledging the violence that sparked it. Since February 2025, 297,000 Black women have exited the workforce. 297,000. The pay gap has widened. Real unemployment, and when you count the women who have stopped looking because the search became too soul crushing, sits at over 10%. 42% of Black women report job insecurity. Mental health is collapsing under the weight of it all. And here's what makes it even more insidious: the dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives has gutted entire departments. Black women in human resources, in nonprofit leadership, in education, they have been laid off in waves, not because they were not excellent, but because their excellence was tied to a commitment that corporations have decided is no longer profitable. So when I say Black women are turning to entrepreneurship, I am not romanticizing it. I am not pretending this is a choice born from abundance. This is a choice born from exclusion. This is what happens when you are told there is no room for you and you decide to build your own room anyway. But here is where it gets interesting. Here is where the data stops being just numbers and starts becoming a blueprint. Researchers at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill analyzed over 8,000 applicants to a program called Venture for America between 2013 and 2023. They wanted to understand what creates founders, what makes someone go from employee to entrepreneur, and what they discovered should fundamentally change how we think about economic empowerment. Black women who worked at startups, even for just 2 or 3 years early in their careers, were 91% more likely to launch their own companies. 91%. Think about what that means. It means that exposure matters. It means that proximity to the process of building a company, to the chaos and the uncertainty and the problem solving, it demystifies entrepreneurship. It removes the mythology that founders are superhuman. It shows Black women, especially first generation professionals, who have never seen someone in their family start a business, that this is something they can do. 10 Black women founders were interviewed as part of this research. Every single one of them said the same thing. It was not business school that gave them the confidence to launch. It was not venture capital. It was not a wealthy mentor. It was working inside a startup and realizing, oh, these founders are just people who decided to try. And if they can do it, so can I. Right now, only 6% of founders in America are Black. 6%. But when you create pathways, when you place Black women in environments where companies are being built, that number shifts fast. This is how you diversify innovation, not with diversity statements, not with panels about inclusion, with placement, with access, with the radical belief that Black women do not need to be saved, they need to be positioned. And positioning requires infrastructure, it requires policy, it requires people in power to make different choices. Let me tell you what that looks like in practice. In New York State, Governor Kathy Hochul directed a record $3.3 billion in state contracts to minority and women owned businesses in 2025. $3.3 billion. And a significant portion of that funding went directly to Black women led firms in healthcare, education, and services. Why does this matter? Because while private companies were laying off Black women by the hundreds of thousands, the public sector created a lifeline: stable contracts, predictable revenue, the ability to hire employees, the ability to scale, the ability to breathe. This is not charity. This is not a handout. This is economic strategy. Because when 600,000 Black women exit the workforce, the economy does not just lose workers, it loses $9.2 billion in economic activity. That is not a Black women problem. That is an American problem. That is a problem that affects everyone. And when you invest in Black women entrepreneurs, you are not just helping individuals, you are stabilizing entire communities, you are creating jobs for other women, you are generating tax revenue, you are proving that the best economic indicator for recovery is not the stock market. It is whether Black women are building and thriving. Jerelyn Buchanan understands this at a cellular level. Their work is not theoretical, it is not performative. They are creating the infrastructure that allows Black women to move from survival to creation. And the data backs them up at every turn. Research from JP Morgan shows that Black women are starting businesses at the highest rate of any demographic group, even as they face job insecurity at 42%, wage drops of 6%, and mental health challenges that would shatter most people. In 18 out of 51 countries studied, women now match men in innovation rates. And in the United States, Black women are leading that charge, not from privilege, not from access to capital, from necessity that has been transformed into vision. They are launching ventures that solve problems they have lived. They are employing their neighbors. They are creating economic ecosystems in communities that have been divested from for generations. And they are doing it without the venture capital that flows so easily to others. They are doing it despite being told no at every stage. They are doing it despite every structural barrier designed to stop them. And they are doing it anyway. Because here's what the world keeps underestimating: Black women have always been entrepreneurs, they have always been innovators. What has changed is not their capacity. What has changed is that the traditional systems that excluded them are collapsing. And in that collapse, there is space: dangerous space, uncertain space, unforgiving space, but space nonetheless. So, what does this mean for you? What does this mean for us? What does this moment demand? If you are a Black woman listening to this and you have been laid off, passed over, underpaid, underestimated, or told you are too much and not enough all at once, I need you to hear this clearly. The crisis is real. Your exhaustion is valid. Your rage is justified, and you do not owe anyone your strength. But you have options you might not see yet. Seek out a startup role, not because startups are perfect, they are often chaotic and under resourced and messy, but because they give you proximity to the process. They show you that building a company is not magic, it is learnable. And that exposure makes you 91% more likely to become a founder yourself or look for policy support. States are directing billions of dollars to businesses like yours. There are grants, there are contracts, there are programs specifically designed to support minority and women owned businesses. They exist because people like Jerelyn fought for them. Do not let pride or exhaustion keep you from accessing what is yours. Or start small, start scrappy, start scared, because the world is not going to hand you permission, but it will respond to your audacity. And if you are not a Black woman, but you have resources, hiring power, influence, and capital, then your job is clear. Create pathways, hire Black women into your startups, fund Black women founders, support policies that direct public dollars to businesses that have been systematically excluded, not because it is nice, not because it makes you look good, because it is smart, because innovation comes from diversity of thought. And you cannot have diversity of thought when you keep funding the same people with the same network solving the same problems for the same customers. The data is screaming at us. Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in America. They are turning exclusion into innovation. They are building despite the odds. They are the best predictor we have for economic resilience and recovery. So here's my question: what if this moment, this painful, destabilizing, infuriating moment, is not just a crisis? What if it is also an invitation? What if the 2025 job crisis is the catalyst that forces us to build an economy that actually works for everyone? What if Black women are not just surviving this moment, but leading us through it? What if the startup you are meant to join, or the business you are meant to launch, or the policy you are meant to champion is the thing that shifts the entire trajectory? Jerelyn Buchanan is already doing this work. They are building the infrastructure. They are opening doors. They are proving that when you invest in Black women, you do not just change individual lives, you change the economy itself. So do not wait for permission. Do not wait until you feel ready. Do not wait for the system to include you. Go find that startup role, apply for that grant, launch that business, fund that founder, support that policy, because the world does not need more people waiting for things to get better. It needs more people building better. It needs you to stop asking if you belong at the table and start building the table you were always meant to sit at. The revolution is not coming, it is already here, and it is being built by Black women who refused to wait. Now, the only question is, are you going to join them?